Join me as I venture into the eerie shadows of the quarry to uncover what really lurks down there. The town of Blackthorn Hollow nestled in a valley where the air always carried a faint chill, even in the height of summer. Pines loomed over the streets, their needles carpeting the ground, and the river that cut through the town murmured secrets to anyone who lingered too long by its banks. For 15-year-old Lila Navarro, Blackthorn Hollow was a paradox, a place of comfort in its familiarity, yet stifling in its smallness. She loved the way the stars seemed brighter here, unmarred by city lights, but she loathed how every mistake seemed to echo forever in the town's collective memory. Lila was a sophomore at Blackthorn High, a wiry girl with straight black hair she always tucked behind her ears, and a habit of sketching in the margins of her notebooks. She wasn't the center of attention, nor was she ignored. Just a quiet presence, known for her sharp wit and the way she could make even the dullest history class bearable with her sly comments. Her closest friend, Caleb Ruiz, was her opposite in every way. Loud, confident, with a laugh that filled rooms. Caleb was the kind of person who could talk his way out of detention and still have the teacher smiling. He was a junior, a track star, and the unofficial king of impromptu bonfires by the river. Lila and Caleb had been friends since they were 8, when they teamed up to build a fort out of driftwood and declared themselves rulers of the riverbank. It was late September, and Blackthorn Hollow was alive with the buzz of the upcoming autumn fair, a week-long celebration of hay rides, cider, and a talent show that everyone secretly took too seriously. Lila and Caleb were planning to enter the talent show as a duo, working on a comedy skit inspired by their favorite podcast, Mysteries of the Unknown, which spun wild tales of hauntings and unsolved crimes. Layla was writing the script, while Caleb practiced his over-the-top impressions of a ghostly narrator. But something was off. Lila had noticed a change in Caleb over the past few weeks. His usual energy was dimmed, his jokes less frequent. He'd started spending time with a new group, juniors and seniors from the edge of town, kids who smoked behind the gas station and drove beat-up trucks with too loud engines. Lila didn't trust them, especially not Ryan Torres, a senior with a lazy grin and eyes that seemed to see right through you. Caleb insisted they were just cool to hang with, but Lila felt a nod of unease every time she saw them together. It began on a Wednesday night, the kind of night where the silence felt heavy, like the world was waiting for something to break it. Lila was curled up on her couch, her phone balanced on her knee as she scrolled through photos from a recent camping trip with Caleb. They'd gone to the old quarry on the edge of town, a place where the cliffs rose sharp and jagged against the sky. The photos were mostly of the landscape, rock faces dapple with moss, the water below glinting like liquid obsidian, but one stood out. It was a shot of Caleb, mid-laugh, tossing a pebble into the quarry. The light caught his face just right, but something in the background made Lila pause. She zoomed in. There, on the cliff's edge, was a shadow that didn't belong. It was vague, human-shaped, but too tall, too thin, its edges blurring into the rock. Lila's breath hitched. The shadow hadn't been there when she'd taken the photo. She was sure of it. She opened her messaging app and sent the image to Caleb. "What is this?" His reply was quick. "Whoa, you spooky. Probably just a trick of the light. You freaking out already?" Lila frowned. The quarry was a local legend, a place where kids dared each other to jump into the water below, but it had a darker history. Decades ago, a worker had died there, crushed when a section of the cliff collapsed. The story went that his ghost still lingered, watching from the rocks. Lila typed back, "This isn't funny, Caleb. That shadow looks like a person." He sent a shrugging emoji. "You're too paranoid." "Hey, I'm hitting up the quarry tomorrow night with Ryan and some others. Come with. It'll be a blast." Lila's stomach twisted. She'd never liked the quarry, not after hearing the stories, and the idea of going there at night with Ryan's crew made her skin crawl. No thanks. That place is bad news. You shouldn't go, either. Caleb's response was curt. Chill, Lila. It's just a hangout. Don't be such a buzzkill. The words stung, and Lila didn't reply. The next day at school, Caleb was distant, eating lunch with Ryan's group instead of sitting with her. She tried to talk to him in the hall, but he brushed her off, saying he was late for practice. By the time school let out, he was gone, piled into Ryan's truck with the others, their laughter echoing as they peeled out of the parking lot. That night, Layla couldn't shake her unease. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her phone glowing on her nightstand. She kept replaying the photo. The shadow's unnatural shape burned into her mind. At 10:30, her phone buzzed with a notification, a video from Caleb sent through their chat app. Her heart skipped as she opened it. The video was dark, the camera jerking as Caleb moved through what looked like the quarry's entrance, a narrow path carved into the rock. His voice was hushed but excited. Lila, you gotta see this place at night. It's unreal. The camera panned to Ryan and two other guys, their faces pale in the light of their phone flashlights. They were joking, their voices too loud, but there was a tension beneath it, like they were trying to drown out their own nerves. The camera swung toward the quarry's main chamber, a vast open space where the cliffs rose on all sides. Caleb whispered, Ryan says there's a cave up ahead. Supposedly, it's where the worker's body was found. The video ended abruptly, the screen going black. Lila's fingers trembled as she typed a reply. Caleb, get out of there. This isn't a game. She hit send, but the message didn't go through. She called him, but it went to voicemail. Her panic grew as she replayed the video, pausing it frame by frame. That's when she saw it. In the background, just as the camera panned across the quarry, there was a figure. It was tall, its limbs unnaturally elongated, standing motionless against the rock wall. Its head was tilted, and though the image was blurry, Lila could make out the faint glint of eyes. Too large, too reflective. It wasn't Ryan or the others. It wasn't human. Lila didn't hesitate. She grabbed her hoodie, a flashlight, and her bike keys. Her mom was working the night shift at the hospital. The house empty as Lila slipped out. The quarry was a 15-minute ride, but she pushed herself, her legs burning as she sped through the dark streets. The night was frigid, the wind biting at her cheeks, but all she could think about was Caleb. The quarry loomed ahead, its cliffs rising like sentinels against the starless sky. Lila ditched her bike at the entrance, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The air smelled of wet stone and something acrid, like old smoke. She called Caleb's name, her voice echoing off the rocks, but there was no answer. The path to the main chamber was narrow, the walls closing in as she moved deeper. Her flashlight illuminated scratches on the rock, some fresh, others faded with time. The stories about the workers' ghosts felt too real now, the weight of them pressing against her chest. She reached the open chamber, the cliffs towering above, and froze. There, on the ground, was Caleb's phone, its screen cracked but still lit. Lila's hands shook as she picked it up. The chat app was open, the video she'd received still paused. But there was a new photo, taken 20 minutes ago. It showed Caleb, his face ashen, eyes wide with terror. He was standing in the chamber, the cliffs behind him. And there, in the shadows, was the figure from the video. Its skin was pale, almost glowing, stretched over a frame that was too thin, too wrong. Its eyes were black, bottomless, and one claw-like hand hovered near Caleb's neck. Lila's breath caught as she heard a sound, a low scraping noise like nails on stone. She spun, her flashlight sweeping the chamber, but it was empty. Her pulse roared as she backed toward the path, clutching Caleb's phone. She had to find him. get out. The chamber seemed larger now, the shadows shifting in ways they shouldn't. Every sound made her jump. The drip of water, the crunch of gravel under her shoes. She called Caleb's name again, her voice cracking, but the only response was the echo. She was halfway back to the entrance when she heard it. A scream, sharp and desperate, coming from deeper in the quarry. Lila ran, her flashlight bouncing as she followed the sound. It led her to a narrow tunnel she hadn't noticed before, its entrance half hidden by a pile of rocks. The scream came again, weaker now, and Lila plunged inside, the walls tightening around her. The air grew colder, the acrid smell stronger. At the end of the tunnel was a small cave, its walls slick with moisture. Caleb was there, slumped against the rock, his face bruised and blood trickling from a cut above his eye. Ryan and the others were gone. "Lila," he croaked, his voice barely audible. It took them. The thing in the dark." Lila dropped to her knees, grabbing his arm. "What happened? Where's Ryan?" Caleb's eyes were unfocused, his breath ragged. It came out of the shadows. It wasn't human. Its eyes. They took them, Lila. I don't know where." Before she could respond, the air thickened, a sudden pressure that made her ears ring. The temperature dropped, her flashlight flickering. She turned, and there it was, the figure from the photo, standing at the cave's entrance. Its limbs were too long, its movements jerky, like a puppet on frayed strings. Its eyes locked onto hers, and Lila felt a pull, like the world was tilting toward those black voids. She yanked Caleb to his feet, dragging him toward the tunnel. The figure moved, its steps silent but relentless. Lila's flashlight sputtered, the beam fading as the cold tightened its grip. She could hear it behind them, that scraping sound, closer now. The tunnel's entrance was just ahead, the faint glow of the chamber visible. They stumbled into the open, collapsing onto the gravel. Lila's flashlight died, but the scraping had stopped. She fumbled for her phone, calling 911 with trembling fingers. Caleb was shaking, his eyes fixed on the tunnel's mouth. The police arrived quickly, their lights flooding the quarry. They searched the tunnels, the chamber, the entire site, but found no trace of Ryan or the others. Caleb's injuries were treated, but he was incoherent, muttering about eyes in the dark. Lila showed the officers the photo on Caleb's phone, but when she opened it, the image was gone, the screen blank. The official report called it a teenage prank. Ryan and the others assumed to have run off, but Lila knew the truth. She saw the way Caleb changed, how he stopped running track, stopped laughing. Their friendship frayed, the weight of that night too heavy to carry together. He moved away the next summer, and Lila heard he'd stopped talking to most people. Lila couldn't let it go. She researched the quarry, poring over old records and newspaper clippings. She found the story of the worker's death, but there was more. Rumors of others who'd vanished near the quarry, their bodies never found. Locals whispered of a presence, something that lived in the rocks, something that watched. Lila started taking photos everywhere. School, the river, her own backyard. She studied every image, searching for shadows that didn't belong, for those black eyes. She never found them, but she kept looking. And sometimes, in the dead of night, when her room was still and her phone glowed, she'd feel it. A chill, a pressure, the sense of being seen. She'd turn on her lamp, check the corners, and find nothing. But she'd leave the light on until dawn, just to be sure. The fear in Lila's eyes still haunts us, and the truth behind the watcher is out there, somewhere. If this story gripped your soul, like it to show your love for true crime. Share this video with your horror-loving friends. Comment your thoughts on what really happened at the quarry, and subscribe with notifications on to join our community of mystery seekers, uncovering the darkest stories.